Okay, I think we're about ready to begin. So I'd like to begin by welcoming you all to the School of Biological Sciences annual awards ceremony and reception. Oh, you can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay, I'll have to really lean into this microphone. Okay, so today we celebrate the accomplishments of students, both undergraduate and graduate, as well as our faculty. And in doing so, we give away some money. So quite a lot of money, actually. It's wonderful to be in person this year, having been so long online. But one thing that we've learned from that experience is that we can take advantage of remote attendance. And so on that camera up there, we have people who are zooming in. So I'll just acknowledge all of those folks who are attending remotely. And we welcome all of you on Zoom. Probably need to mute those on Zoom, probably. Okay. It is also our pleasure to welcome the Dean of our college, the College of Science, Professor Peter Trapper. And I'd like to invite Peter up here to say a few words.
Thank you so much for that nice introduction, Neil. Is this coming through okay with the microphone? Great. So this is my favorite time of year. We're through the end of the semester, just have finals. I'm looking forward to commencement. Of course, another thing that I was award ceremonies like this. I also look forward to seeing Neil in a tie. It doesn't happen very often, but usually the same tie. So, you know, the School of Biological Sciences is certainly one of the crown jewels, not only of the College of Science, but of the entire university. And it's a privilege to be here today to recognize the outstanding faculty, staff, and students. And we've got some very distinguished alums here as well, to recognize all of them who are making the school what it is. It is a fantastic academic unit. Am I getting a lot of feedback here, or are you?
It's the lack of muting on
Okay.
Zoom, I think.
Okay. I usually have uber control on the Zoom meetings that I run, and so I can like kick people off, mute them, and so got to teach you the tricks. So yeah, so as I said, just I should mention one thing. I was talking to our president, and as you know, he is very strongly on our This is actually my typical experience in biology faculty meetings, but it's usually faculty members heckling me, not people on Zoom. Anyway, I think I will stop there then and turn it back over to you, Neil, to really get to the
carry out research in the laboratories, providing stipend support. And so we'll recognize them together as a group at the end of this section. The College of Science also awards a number of scholarships with different designations. This year, the Impact Scholarship is to Sarah Bayardo, the Talent Scholarship to Bisha Robles, the College of Science Dean's Scholarship goes to Poi Gilmore, the Promise Scholarship to Joshua Hale, the New Horizons Scholarship to Camilo Sutterholm. This is for a entering student, and the Joseph T. Crockett Memorial Scholarship to Haley Hauk, Ty Mellor, and Noah Armstrong. And I can't really tell you what the distinctions among all of these scholarships are, except that I believe that for the Dean's Scholarship, I can tell you that if you don't get the money, we'll send you his home phone number and you can collect. Again, additional awards from the college. There's the Crocker Science House Scholars. These are individuals chosen to live in a nice house on the Fort Douglas campus. This year, Gabe Brown, Sydney Brusby, and Maggie Bergen. And another freshman scholarship award goes to Noah Bonde. A number of our students were selected for induction into Phi Beta Kappa, a very long-standing and highly regarded honorary society for undergraduates, recognizing exceptional work in the arts and sciences. The University of Utah is the only campus in Utah that has a Phi Beta Kappa chapter. And this year, Sage Helton, Liam Cunningham, Abigail Johnston, Calder Lake, and Tara Tazahabadi were chosen for Phi Beta Kappa. Oops, and now it's time for the honors graduates. But maybe we have all of the individuals who I named stand up and we can recognize them now. Thank you. Some of those scholars will be honored again by me.
Okay, thank you, David. Next, we have Naina Fadnis, who's our Assistant Director for Undergraduate Programs, and she will be presenting the honors graduates for 2021-22.
So hello, everybody. I am so pleased to be here to congratulate our students who are graduating with an honors degree in biology. These students have not only taken biology and honors classes, but also engaged in research for the last 2 years during the entire period of the pandemic. Despite facing such severe challenges, they have done some groundbreaking research, and I have read in the last few weeks some of the most stellar theses that I have had the honor of reading as an honors faculty advisor. To give you a sense of the diversity of projects, some of them have uncovered some of the most fundamental mechanisms of cellular biology, or understood how biology education works at the University of Utah, or explored microbial diversity in our communities. Since I don't have the time to tell you about all of their projects, their names and their thesis titles, as well as the people who supported them, without which this would have not happened, are displayed outside on the table. Please do look at them. So with that, I would like to announce the names of the 2021-22 honor students cohort. If you're on Zoom, you can also raise your hands because you won't be able to stand up at the end. Okay, so here we go. James Banks, Alexis Berman, Dallin Calder, Cynthia Checketts, Benjamin Chinot, Drew Domagala, Katrina Excel, Summer Führer, also my TA, Sue Ham, Annika Eisem, Madeline Jensen, Rachel Jones, Shalini Kasera, Julie Kim, Jungchi Lan, Hani Lee, Nicholas Loyola, Isaac Nelson, Arushi Rohaj, Alexander Sperber, Claire Stanley, Nathaniel Thomas, and Andre Watson. Congratulations.
You should stand up. So
yeah, come on. There you are.
Okay, so moving on to the next category, we are going to have the Graduate Student Awards and Postdoctoral Awards, and Professor Kent Golick, our Associate Director of Graduate Studies, is going to announce these recipients. Thanks, Kent.
All right, it's a real pleasure to announce these award winners. As Director of Graduate Studies, I get to know these students maybe a little bit more than most of the other faculty, and it's just an outstanding group that we have. So it's a real pleasure to do this. And we'll start off with the Herbert Gold and Marion Gold Scholarship. This was established to provide financial assistance for a graduate student who is working in the field of plant biology with some emphasis on field work. And the awardee for this scholarship is Talia Backman from the Karasov Lab. Next, we have the George Reiser Award for Outstanding Graduate Research. And this is an award that goes to graduating PhD students. And it was established by George Reiser, and he was a graduate from the Department of Biology in 1947. And he has sort of continued to track our progress, and he has contributed financially, and he continues to follow his beneficiaries of these awards. So if any of these beneficiaries want to contact him, he loves to hear from you. The recipients of this award receive actually a monetary award, and their name goes on a plaque that's in the biology department foyer. And the recipients this year are Dale Forrester from the Coley Cursor Lab, Austin Green from Sean's lab, and Jinshi Lee from Sophie Caron's lab. All right. Next, we have recipients of the College of Science Edges Award. And this is an award that was recently established to provide funds to retain, recruit, and promote the success of outstanding doctoral students who have the potential to contribute to diversity in their academic fields and in this department. Excuse me, in this department. And we have two awardees. They are Adara De Niro and Emmanuel Nguoke. Next, we have the Tinker Graduate Field Research Grant, and this provides funding to a U of U graduate student for travel and field-related expenses for work in Latin America. And yeah, unfortunately, we actually have two awardees for this. One was just very recently named, and so they didn't make it onto the slide. But we have Kyle Kitterberger and David Blount, both from Sean's lab. Someday I will learn how to pronounce that last name. Next we have the University of Illinois New Frontiers Graduate Fellowship, and this supports PhD students with full-time research support, a very generous stipend and tuition, and also an allowance for field work, and also a very big allowance of computer hours on petascale computing system. And I don't know what that means, but I assume that means it's extremely powerful. And the awardee is Dale Forrester from the Coley Cursor Lab. All right, next we have new awardees for a position on the genetics training program here at the University of Utah. This is actually an award that is near and dear to me as a geneticist. And one thing that I will point out, and which I'm very proud of, and I think this is true, is that the biology department has more people supported by the genetics training grant than any other department on campus, including all the departments in the medical school, which does include a department that has the name genetics in its name. So we are very proud of this accomplishment, and the new awardees for this year are Amaris Aponte Pizarro from Sophie Caron's lab, Andrew Butts, also from Sophie's lab, Aubrey Hawks from the Karasov Lab, Thomas King from the Werner Lab, and Atusa Samani from the Shapiro Lab. All right, next we have 2 awards, both of which were given to Maggie Doolin, an outstanding graduate student in Denise Deering's lab. And one of them is the Reiser Research Award. This is to support outstanding students in pursuing careers in a very long list, but behavior, ecology, environmental biology, ecosystem science, evolutionary biology, physiology, functional morphology, and plant biology. And Maggie also received the Coley Cursor Field Research Award, and that's going to support her work in the field next semester. So 2 awards for Maggie, and she's very deserving. And oh, did I not advance it? Sorry. There we go. Margaret. All right. Next, we have the University of Utah Graduate Research Fellowship, and this provides full-time support for field research during the fellow's academic year, and it allows them to focus on doing research instead of having to TA and take some of their time up from that. And the person who received the award this year was Dylan Kluwer in the Deering Lab. And then the last graduate student award that I want to mention today is the Scott Lloyd Memorial Graduate Fellowship. And Scott's parents, Bill and Joyce, I believe, are with us by Zoom today. And I just want to give a special thanks to them for this really generous gift. And it's really, you know, doing a great thing to help support students in their research. And I'm very pleased to announce the awardee this year, who is Georgina Reyes from Sandy Parkinson's lab. And I think this is just a wonderful confluence this year. This scholarship was established in the memory of their son, Scott Lloyd. Scott Lloyd was a PhD student in Dave Blair's lab, and he worked on understanding the molecules that are responsible for bacterial swimming. And Georgina in Sandy's lab is working on understanding how bacteria sense their environment and then respond to that by swimming in different directions. So I think it's just, things have really come together in a wonderful fashion for that award this year. All right, that's it for the graduate student awards. And if all the awardees would stand, we could give you a round of applause and show you our appreciation. Okay, we have a couple of postdoctoral awards to mention. Oh, goodness. Okay, thank you. I should just hand this to you. All right, so the first is Julie Jung from the Werner Lab, and she actually has received 2 awards this year. One is for the College of Science Outstanding Postdoctoral Researcher, and another is she's received an NSF postdoctoral fellowship, and those are really both outstanding achievements. The second postdoctoral researcher that I want to acknowledge is Hermann Vargas from the Anderegg Lab, and he received a very prestigious postdoctoral fellowship from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And this is one of only 8 awarded across the whole country this year. So congratulations to both of those postdoctoral researchers. And if you're here, maybe you could stand and we could recognize you. Thank you. I've got one more. I did Hermann. Did I not do it? I did. Oh, I don't have these on my sheet of paper. Sorry. All right, I'm sure this is my fault. anyway, I'm sorry that I neglected these two. So we've got 2 postdoctoral fellowships from the National Institutes of Health. These are extremely competitive fellowships, and it really is a great sign for a postdoctoral fellow to receive one of these. And the 2 recipients this year are Clayton Corey from Jamie Gagnon's lab and Mai Tran, also from Jamie's lab. And if you could stand, we could recognize you now. Maybe they're attending via Zoom.
All right, thank you very much, Kent, and congratulations again to all the undergraduate, graduate, and postdoctoral award recipients this year. Fantastic job. I think I forgot to mention at the beginning, at the top of the show here, that I think I was a bit discombobulated by the feedback that we were getting from all the Zoom participants, but that I'm actually only half of the directorship of the School of Biological Sciences. So I'm a co-director, and my colleague Leslie Seabuth is the better half of the co-directing team, and she's going to come up here now and tell you about the faculty awards that we've received this year.
Don't believe Neil for a minute. He's an awesome co-director, and it is such an honor to be here today and to have this opportunity to recognize faculty awards. So, what do I hit? This button? All right. So you'll have to point to me when I hit the wrong button. Okay, so the first award that I'm going to announce is the Henry Baldwin Ward Medal. Henry Baldwin Ward life work was dedicated to understanding freshwater biology and especially parasitology. But maybe his most impactful thing was founding the American Society of Parasitology and then becoming its first president. This foundation now gives this annual award, and this year it was awarded to our very own Sarah Bush. So congratulations, Sarah Bush. The next award, the next recognition comes from the top scientific society. The American Association for the Advancement of Science elects fellows. And this year, our school got 3 of our faculty were elected as fellows. This is an amazing achievement. The voting is based on what crosses all of science and engineering, and people are elected because of their contributions to, in this case, biological sciences, including their research, their teaching, technology, and excellence in communication and interpreting science for the public. And elected this year are Dale Clayton, Denise Deering, and Kelly Hughes. So this is a big achievement. Congratulations to you 3. Okay, so next I am announcing a trifecta of awards, one by a faculty who is no stranger to this awards ceremony. This is Chan Shekargiolu. I think I didn't completely mangle that. We'll see. Okay, so first, Chan won the College of Science Award for fostering undergraduate research excellence. He always has a large group of very enthusiastic undergrads. He also won recognition from the Media Magazine of Turkey. This magazine recognized him as among the top 50 most creative in Turkey, and he's one of only 3 scientists to have ever won this award. Then finally, Chan was also won recognition for being one of the most cited scientists in Turkey, and his citations are in the area of biology, ecology, and ornithology. So congratulations 3 times to John. Okay, next up is the 2022 Leonardo Award. This award comes from the Leonardo Museum, which is right here in Salt Lake. It's a really great place to go, especially on like a rainy Saturday. It's an interesting place with lots of different exhibits. This award is to recognize an individual who's demonstrated a lifelong sense of curiosity and learning, and whose work inspires creative potential in others. And they really could not have found a better person to win this award that is Nalini Nadkarni. And continuing in the theme of awards that originate in museums and are awarded to Nalini, the Museum of Natural Science in Barcelona gives an annual award called the Nat Award. And this was given to Nalini. And I Googled to look at this, and it was really great to read about. I'm just pulling a little bit about what they said led them to give her this award. It was because of her study and defense of forests around the world. And boy, do our forests need to be defended these days. And also her creative communication, educational tools that are really aimed at all areas of society and address gender issues and groups at risk of exclusion. So that's a great recognition. The next award is the 2021 Ig Nobel Prize. Okay, so the Ig Nobel Prize, if you don't know, is a satirical award. But it's not just satirical, right? You have to have real science there. And as they describe it, these awards are for scientific achievements that make people laugh and then make them think. And what better way to learn is there than laughing first and then kind of go, oh, that's actually very cool. So our very own Dave Carrier won this award along with Stephen Nailway and a recent graduate student, Ethan Becerras. They were awarded this prize for a study that explored whether beards may serve an evolutionary purpose to protect the jaw during a fist fight. Yeah, laugh and then think, right? Okay. Next, we recognize Lissy Coley. This year, she won the 2021 Honorary Fellow of the Association for Tropical Biology and Conservation. This is the highest award from this group, and it's presented in recognition of a long and distinguished service to the area of tropical biology. So congratulations, Lissy. Maybe out there. And finally, it's really a pleasure to be able to announce an award to a professor emeritus, in this case, Bill Gray. He won the Ty Harrison Service Award. So what I learned was that Ty Harrison actually got his undergraduate degree in botany here at the U. How awesome is that? So this award comes from the Utah Native Plant Society. Bill Gray is very active in this society. He takes pictures of wildflowers. He has published field guides in the forms of books and interactive CDs. And so congratulations, Bill, a well-earned award. Help me thank all of them and recognize them for these many awards.
Okay, so well done, all of our faculty members, for those outstanding accomplishments. It's now my pleasure to introduce our distinguished alumni for this year. Each year, the School of Biological Sciences has a committee that receives nominations for distinguished alumni. These are graduate students, undergraduates, postdocs, who've been affiliated with biology and who are nominated by both internally and externally to receive this recognition. So these are nice awards to give to recognize people who've gone on to distinguished careers. I'd first like to start with Nina Bookman. I don't think she's going to be here, but we do have a video of her, which you'll play momentarily. Is she here? In any case, I'll tell you a little bit about Nina. So Nina worked in Jim Elringer's lab as an Alexander von Humboldt Fellow between 1993 and 1996. The main research topics of Dr. Bookman include plant and ecosystem physiology, biogeochemistry of terrestrial ecosystems, and interactions among biodiversity, ecosystem functions and services, and sustainable resource use. So she was born in Heidelberg, Germany, with a PhD from the University of Beirut. She is a professor currently of grassland sciences in the Institute of Agricultural Sciences at ETH Zurich, and coincidentally right now is actually hosting Jim Elringer, who is a professor here. He's over there visiting her and hopefully learning a lot from her. So is Nina on, is she on Zoom?
Yes, she has her.
Okay. Is it? Okay. Anyway, there was supposed to be a video of Nina. Maybe we'll track that down. But I'll go on to the next. I'll go on to the next alumnus award. So it gives me great pleasure to recognize Carol Blair Brennan. She was in the first honors college class at the University of Utah, a graduate with a Bachelor's of Arts in Microbiology, magna cum laude, in 1964. She went on to earn her PhD in the inaugural doctorate program in the Department of Molecular Biology at UC Berkeley. So she's a real pioneer in that regard. Later, she was a postdoc at Trinity College in Dublin, at Dublin University in Ireland. 11 years after leaving Utah, she returned to the West to study arthropod-borne viruses at Colorado State University in 1975, and has evolved with this area of research ever since. At Colorado State, she served in advancing faculty and administrative positions, including department head. Today, she is Professor Emerita in the Department of Microbiology, Immunology, and Pathology at Colorado State. So I'd like to ask Carol to come on up here and receive the, it's an award, and maybe spend a couple of minutes speaking to the audience.
I feel very honored to be a graduate of the University of Utah, one of the finest universities in the world. And I am very much humbled and honored by this award. I have a lot of people to thank. When I was at the University of Utah, I was in the inaugural class, the honors program. I was invited to join the honors program. This really boosted my self-confidence. Then and during my course here, I had wonderful professors, including Dr. James Sugihara for organic chemistry, and Dr. Doug Hill for microbiology, virology. But one of my most important thanks goes to two Utah alums who unfortunately are no longer with us, Joel Dalrymple and John Stanton. I was privileged to do research with them as an undergraduate. They were graduate students. They had a wonderful program in arbovirology, specifically with Western equine encephalitis virus and mosquitoes. And I, in seeing what they did and how much they enjoyed their work, decided this is the life I want. I want to be an academic scientist. And that's what I did. And so I am very much appreciative of those two young men who helped me so much and included me, treated me as an equal. There weren't a lot of women in science at that time. Among others, as my career has progressed, I have to thank many of my faculty colleagues who have been inspirations, intellectual giants in my development, and the more than 60 graduate students who I have mentored as an advisor during my course of faculty service. And I even want to thank one of them who is a Utah alum who got a PhD with me and who went on to do great things, Mike Parker, who's here today. And finally, I want to thank my husband, Patrick Brennan, who has provided support, inspiration, and love for all these years. Thank you to everybody.
Okay, thank you, Carol. Next, we have Jed Sparks. Jed is a teaching and research focus is to understand the physiological characteristics of plants and microbes that control the interaction of plant and soil communities within the atmosphere. His research lab includes questions in plant physiological ecology, ecosystem science, and the application of stable isotopes to ecological questions. Sparks' own work tends to focus on the exchange of compounds at the boundary between the atmosphere and terrestrial ecosystems. He graduated from biology with a bachelor's degree in 1995. And I think he had a pivotal experience in biology that really actually changed the whole course of his direction. Maybe he'll share that with you. And he earned his doctorate at Washington State University. He's currently the chair of the Ecology and Evolutionary Biology Department at Cornell University. So he's certainly distinguished himself. Jed, would you come on up?
Thank you, Neil, for kind words. This is probably the most amazing award I think I've ever gotten because this is where I started. In 1987, being a kid from rural Utah with a single mother and a family had never gone to, and no one had ever gone to college, I was going to join the Marine Corps, just like everyone else. And the day before that, I got a full scholarship from the theater department at the University of Utah, and I came here. And my first semester at the U, I got a 1.79. I turned it around after that and kept my scholarship. And then after 3 years in theater school, I walked into Jim Elriner's plant ecology class. And later that spring, I took Lissy Coley's Ecosystems of North America class with this amazing TA, Denise Deering. And things changed for me very rapidly. I switched to biology and started to work in Jim Elriner's lab. I was there for several years. And one day Jim said, "You need to go to graduate school." And I said, "What for is this thing you speak of, graduate school?" And Jim helped me and has continued to help me. I think he's watching from somewhere in Austria right now. And I went, and the rest is history. And I'm the strangest Ivy League professor you will ever meet. But most importantly, in the second row here is my mother, who at that time, she was working 16 hours a day, 6 days a week as a beautician, and a single woman to put me through college. So thank you.
There's the photographers at the back there, so you want to. Sure.
How many PhDs does it take?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we're good. Thanks.
Okay. Our final alumnus that we're recognizing today is Jennifer Sorensen Forby. And I remember Jennifer well too. She was a graduate student when I started here. She earned her PhD from biology in 2003 as a member of Denise Deering's lab. Her research at Boise State, where she is now a professor of biological science, focuses on two general areas related to plant-herbivore interactions, employing a combination of laboratory and field-based approaches, genomics underlying toxin tolerance, which is gut for short, or GUT maybe, I don't know. Gut, okay, it's gut, that makes sense. And farm ecology, not ecology, but ecology. Dr. Forby's goal as an educator and mentor is to provide the knowledge to transform students into independent and analytical thinkers and broadly prepare students for careers in science. And so she's had a great effect on a large number of students over the past 20 years now. So congratulations, Jen. Please join me up here. We do have one each for. All right. We do have one each. Okay. All right.
Thank you. Well, it's good to be back. Thank you for this award. You know, I was thinking about how the challenges of a graduate school. So some of you that are in this position right now, and maybe others that are thinking about it. And I was sort of trying to kind of come up with an analogy of what it was like. And this winter, my family got together after a long separation because of COVID, and we went to Beatles Love. And there are these people climbing up these steep ladders. And I feel like that's how graduate school feels. And they get to the top, and then they have to make this jump. And you wonder, how do they do it? And it's places like University of Utah that give you, good Lord, that give you the confidence to know that you can climb that prepare you to know that you can jump. It's people like Denise, other people at this university that have really been that support group. And I think really the reason that you jump is that not only they help prepare you, but they're actually the net that makes you feel confident to jump. And so thank you for being the net. Thank you, Denise. Geez. And yeah, just really appreciate this campus, this school, making me feel like I belonged in this field. Never doubted it. And so thank you for that.
Okay, thank you very much, Jen. It's funny how these award ceremonies sometimes make the emotions well up inside one. All of our distinguished alumni who are here today have had that sense about them. So thank you all for coming. I really appreciate you coming and sharing your experiences with our audience today. So next, we're going to recognize faculty who've retired over the past year. And I'm going to talk about Franz Gollar, who retired last July after 23 years on the biology faculty at the University of Utah. Now, I know Franz quite well because we were hired from the same search in 1998, sorry, I'm not that old. And both of us arrived at the U within 2 weeks of one another in September of that year. Now, Franz hails from Austria. It wouldn't matter. And you can tell that I'm not from these parts either, right? I like to tell people I'm from Eastern Utah, like further east than Vernal. So I realized that after I arrived here, that some people had difficulty telling the two of us apart. So I was clean shaven back then, didn't have a beard. And so here we were, two bald white guys, short-sighted, wearing glasses, Mine were quite similar to Franz's back then. We had incorrectly aligned teeth. You know, it's a European kind of thing. Many people comment to me on, I can tell you're from Britain, your teeth aren't straight. And funny accents, of course. And I quickly came to the belief, following my arrival here, that one of us had been hired by mistake, because the faculty at the time couldn't actually tell the difference between us. I'll let you decide which one was the mistake. So Franz worked on birds and was truly an outstanding physiologist and colleague. And he studied how muscles control airflow and sound production in songbirds. Now, Franz was a cosmopolitan in his choice of subjects, and he worked on a diverse array of different bird species. Initially, zebrafinch. They must drive each other mad with their constant chattering at one another. I know they drove me mad because my lab and Franz's lab were next door to one another, and these things just constantly were chattering away. He also worked on cowbirds, which have amazing vocalizations and vocalization properties. And he also worked on chickens. Now, I never saw the chickens, but I know that he worked on chickens because the rooster would announce himself periodically throughout the day for the entire third floor to hear up in this building. Franz produced a catalog of excellent papers and trained many undergraduates, graduate students, and postdocs in his lab. He was an outstanding teacher. He was rigorous with his German accent, intimidated the students, but he was scrupulously fair. He was very modest and didn't seek the spotlight at all. And as you might imagine, like a rare bird, he was difficult to capture on film. And this is the only photo that I actually have of him. There might be others out there, but they're quite rare. Although now retired from the U, he remains active in teaching and research, albeit at a different university in Hamburg, Germany, where he moved to be with his partner and her family. We wish Franz the very best of luck. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's not on the Zoom call, because he wouldn't appreciate being in the spotlight. But anyway, Franz, we're thinking of you. We appreciate everything that you did for us, and congratulations on your retirement. So now we have a couple more retirements, and I think John Seeger is going to come up and talk about Nalini Nadkarni.
Can you hear me?
You have to speak right.
I have to speak. Is this better? Okay. So, oh no. Oh no. What? Okay. Yes, good. So it's an extreme pleasure for me to get to speak to the promotion of our fabulous colleague, Nalini Nadkarni, to Professor Emerita. Nalini, oh no, what happened? There we are. She joined our faculty in 2011 when she was recruited to lead the Center for Science and Mathematics Education, which had only recently been formed. Before that, she served for 20 years on the faculty of the Evergreen State College in Olympia, Washington. Before that, she directed the Selby Botanical Garden in Sarasota, Florida, and was an assistant professor at UCSB. Nalini was educated at Brown, where her mentor, the legendary John Wagge, showed her how ecologists study nature by watching it very closely, and how ecological scientists often discover connections that must be understood if we ever hope to repair human damage to nature. And that had a big effect on her. She then did her PhD at the University of Washington in the College of Forest Resources because she knew that she wanted to work on trees. In fact, she had loved trees since childhood when she spent many hours climbing the maples that lined the driveway of her parents' home in Bethesda. Her love of those trees and of the perspective on things that she got from being up in their crowns led her in graduate school to pioneer the study of rainforest canopy ecosystems. That's the shortest way to put what her big contribution to science is. She did it, they were basically off the map. They were terra incognita, except not terra, they were up in the trees. And she did it by climbing up into them and watching very closely what they did. There she documented a whole new realm of epiphytic life, highly complex, adapted to conditions very different from those immediately below them on the forest floor. Early in her graduate career, she discovered that the host trees, far from being burdened by these supposed free riders, as some people called them, often benefited nutritionally by literally growing roots, which you may be able to see in this picture here, out of their branches into the very thick mossy soils that had built up over decades on those branches, supporting all the epiphytic guests. This discovery opened up several new lines of research that subsequently diversified and grew and continue to grow. And Nalini's initial discovery got the cover of Science, as you can see, 2 years before she defended her dissertation. Nalini has also made many highly innovative and valuable contributions to the public understanding of science and to the humanization of the culture of science itself. Something for which I don't think she's sufficiently recognized, although her recognition for her public understanding of science work was, of course, what got her recruited to lead the Center for Science and Math Education here. For example, Nalini is the godmother of Treetop Barbie, a great ambassador of gonzo science to little girls everywhere who know about Treetop Barbie. And she has literally written the book on how to take science into prisons, not just as lectures, but as opportunities for the inmates to actually engage in real research and restoration ecology to the benefit of themselves, the rest of us, and nature. And all you lecturers out here, please note, this is an amazing photograph that I had never seen until a few days ago. Look how dialed in totally all these guys are. Every single person in the room, just about without exception, is intently following whatever it is that Nalini is saying at the time. And while holding up, I believe it's a U branch from the Pacific Northwest. These are not like my students, who usually look like they feel they're the ones in prison. Right? For all of these accomplishments, Nalini has been thoroughly showered with the usual kinds of accolades, ranging from citations of her many papers to high-profile invitations and honorary degrees. But no Nobel Prize, Ig or otherwise, at least not yet. Do we care? No. Many biology departments, including ours, have faculty that went on to win the Nobel Prize, so it's not such a big deal. How many biology departments have a faculty member who went on to Wait, Don't Tell Me as the not my job guest? As far as I'm aware, correct me if you know better, I think the answer is just one department, and guess which it is. It's this one. We're it. She was brilliant, and you can still hear the show if you search for it online. We'll bask forever in that reflected glory. So please do check out this wonderful recent interview with her in Bioscience, from which I got a number of the pictures, and join me in wishing Nalini the very best in her new chapters, whatever they may turn out to be.
Thank you, John, and congratulations, Nalini. Our final retiree that we celebrate today is Mark Nielsen. David Carrier told me that he wanted to use up double the time that's allotted. Oh, 1 minute.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding, David.
Forward. Okay. So
It's an honor to honor Mark, to honor his teaching, his contribution to our school. And I wanted to start my comments with a picture of Mark's teaching. And this is not an example of everything that's associated with Mark's human anatomy program, but it's an important part. TA presentations of prosections. And what prosections are very careful, beautiful dissections of human cadavers. The prosections are in Mark's program are completed or made by the students, a select group of students. And what you see is a TA presenting to TA here in the yellow t-shirt, presenting to a group of students. And there are 2 points I want to make in my comments today. And to do that, I have to provide a little bit of background that reflect on Mark's teaching. So the first is not really relevant, but Mark and I went to high school together back in the early 70s. And so I can do this because of that. It turns out Highland High in the early 70s had 2 star basketball players, and Mark was one of those stars. We didn't run in the same crowd during high school. Mark was, as I said, a star athlete and a scholar, and I was not. But we did cross paths a few years later when we found ourselves in the same undergraduate courses taught by John Legler and Dennis Bramble. So this is a portrait of John teaching anatomy, and John brought human anatomy to the University of Utah when he moved here from the Midwest. In this portrait, you can see Mark in the background, and Mark was for human anatomy was an apprentice of John's, and in the mid 80s inherited the human anatomy course from mid 80s from John. But the important point was that John Legler was an anatomist, but he was an anatomist with a comparative and evolutionary perspective. In John's case, there was also a strong developmental perspective. Dennis Bramble was also an anatomist with an evolutionary and comparative perspective. And in Dennis's case, his focus was more functional. And I would say that both Mark and I really benefited by the inheritance of that comparative and evolutionary perspective. So this is a photograph of the first awarding of the John Legler Endowed Lectureship in Anatomy, which Mark won, I think, in 2015, if I remember correctly. But it's just an illustration of the important relationship, an important role that John played in Mark's career. Okay, so I'm going to, this is, okay, I'm missing a slide, unfortunately, I'm sorry. We're gonna go back to this. So for the moment, I want you to avert your eyes from the cadaver to the faces of the 3 students. And just again, look at the expression of the students. And Mark has won a bunch of teaching awards in his career. I'm very proud of the 2 teaching awards that I have won. Mark has won 35 teaching awards. If you look at his CV, there is every possible teaching award listed multiple times. And so my question mark is, why just 35? No, so he won those awards not because it's fun to learn hundreds of anatomical names and terms. He won those awards because his teaching changes the way people's brains work. His teaching gives people a new understanding of who they are and who humans are as a species. So he gives students an eureka moment. And I think that that's part of it. But probably more important is what's shown here, in that Mark has given his TAs the experience of doing that themselves, of giving other students those eureka moments, that moment of a light flipping on. And I'm convinced that that's the most important thing in Mark's contribution. So if you have a lot of students, thousands and thousands of students over the years, you end up having a lot of TAs. And so this is a photograph of most of the teaching staff of the 2022 year. There are about 30 people here. I think there were somewhere in the range of 35 teaching assistants this past year. So here's Mark and his anatomy compatriot, Sean Miller. And if you have, actually, over his career, Mark has worked with 1,459 teaching assistants. If you have that many teaching assistants, you also have to have teaching assistants for the teaching assistants. And so this is the mentors from 2022. And here is an older photograph. I asked Mark for an older photograph of some of his teaching assistants, and he sent me this over the weekend. And I was disappointed because Mark's not in the photograph. And then I remembered that Mr. Fountain of Youth here actually was, for most of his career, indistinguishable from his students. Okay, so here's a group of teaching assistants from the early 90s. Here is a photograph of many of those same people at a reunion in Mark's backyard. Actually, I should say Brenda's backyard, giving credit where credit is due. But you can see the camaraderie that is represented in his anatomy program. And again, I think a big part of that is just what Mark gives his teaching assistant. He gives them the skills to teach, and then this perspective, evolutionary comparative perspective, which allows people to see themselves in a new light. Okay, so that's my first point. My second point has to do with HAPS, Human Anatomy and Physiology Society. This is an international society. It's big. It's devoted to teaching human anatomy and physiology. Mark's been engaged with the society since its inception. In 2019, 2020, he was the president of the society. And in 2017, he hosted the yearly meeting here in Salt Lake, big meeting. Because it was local, I went. And what I found very immediately was everyone I talked to, when they heard I was from Utah, they would start telling me about Mark Nielsen. They would tell me about Mark. They would tell me about his anatomy program. And the older folks who had been doing this for a while made the point of telling me, this happened several times, that Mark's anatomy program is the gold standard for anatomy programs in the United States. Most places have elements of what we have here in terms of the breadth of the courses, human dissections, the comparative and evolutionary and developmental perspectives that Mark brings. Most places have some elements, but no other place has supposedly all the elements together. And so I left that meeting, that conference, with the realization that it's not that we have a good anatomy program for undergraduates here at the University of Utah. We have the world's best anatomy program. And so, Mark, I would just like to thank you. I have to say that a couple of years ago, when the rumor started circulating that you were going to retire, I panicked. I started to panic because of just the concern of what's going to happen to this program you've created. But I've come to realize that the momentum that your program has is going to carry forward without you. And so my hat is off to you, and you're going to be missed. Thank you very much.
Wow, what a lot of achievement. This is just such a great awards ceremony, and it's been a pleasure to be here. Before I get to the final closing, though, we are going to bring you Nina Bookman's video. Are you going to do this for us?
And she's also going to,
Oh,
she wanted to do the video.
great. Thank you, Nina.
Dear colleagues and friends, many years ago, I was working with Jim and the others in the Ehleringer lab, first as a Humboldt Fellow and then as a postdoc. 3 years filled with lots of science and isotopes, hiking, traveling the West, and making friends for life, and even meeting my maid of honor. I'm very honored to receive this award. Unfortunately, I cannot join you today, but I hope to see you next year when I'm attending the ESA meeting in Oregon and planning to stop by in Salt Lake as well. So enjoy the afternoon. I will have dinner with Jim and Edna tonight since he spends his sabbatical with my group and me in Zurich. So enjoy and see you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nina. That was great. Okay, so thank you all. This has been an amazing awards ceremony. There's one group, though, that we haven't recognized yet, and that is all the people who did the really hard work to assemble this program. I want to make sure to thank Ann Polidori, Shannon Nielsen, Teresa Neidham, David Pace, Karen Zundel, Sarah Napier, and our great IT help, Spencer. Okay, and so thank you to all of, oh, and
She also wants to do it.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. Okay, so Nina's also going to do one more thing, is that right?
Can you unmute yourself? Nina, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I did. Thank you. You hear me?
Yes.
Hey, well, thanks for the opportunity to say some more words. I actually logged in on my way back from the dinner with Jim back home, which was an amazing opportunity to sit in a train looking at my iPhone and watching all these awards that the faculty and the School of Biology was giving. And which also shows the international attitude that we nowadays have in science. And now receiving that award, as I said in the video, is great. And these 3 years in Salt Lake really changed my scientific way. I actually wanted to become a true physiologist in Jim's lab, and I left as a true ecophysiologist. With lots of stable isotope experience. I had done my PhD on tracers in stable isotopes and really got to learn lots of natural abundance isotope in Jim's lab. I also got to know Jed, so that was great to see him in the award ceremony just some minutes ago. And so thanks a lot. This time was wonderful in Jim's kindness and openness to introduce many of us as PhD students, as me as postdocs, and also others into the world of stable isotopes. And as I said, if there's a chance next year to pass by just either before or after the ESA meeting in Oregon, I would be very happy to come by in person. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Nina. And I really hope you do have a chance and we can meet you in person. It'd be great. And this is now the end of our program, but we have the opportunity to greet each other in person, face to face, and there's some refreshments out in the lobby. So I'll see all of you there. Thank you.
Oh, that was very good. Yeah, I don't know. That's why I said 3 days. I'm a final version. That really was kind of short. You know, last time I said a week. Thank you. You move it, Carol.
47 years ago.
Mike you're the biologist. 3 days. A few times on the Rockies games. Yes.